Today's session is very interesting because in the today's session, I'm just going to tell you the way how you can build the real world application like Domino's, Swiggy, Zomato, like project architecture you can build with the help of Microsoft Azure and ASP.NET Core. So my name is Shailen Chauhan. I am Microsoft MVP, technical consultant, corporate trainer. So this is about me in brief. Let me first look at the agenda of this webinar. So in this webinar, first we will decide the technologies. So what are the technologies we are going to use in this project and how we can decide. Then we look at the project architecture, where I will show you the way how you can implement the clean architecture. Then we look at the design principles and the patterns. So what are the design principles and patterns you should keep in the mind we having in this way. Then we having at the security, like how we can implement the authentication and authorization in the application. And then we talk about here the bootstrap for building the responsive design so that our application can be open on different devices, whether it's a mobile phone, tablet, laptop, and desktop. Then I will tell you about the best practices which you should always follow whenever you're building the real world application, like error logging, response modification, static file cache, and other things. Then I will tell you here how we can integrate various Microsoft Azure services. Because so many people having the confusion actually why they should learn Microsoft Azure and how the Microsoft Azure help them for building their .NET based application or for building their next application. And why nowadays the companies are looking for the Microsoft Azure as a necessary skill set when they're hiring a full stack .NET developer. So today this picture would be clear to you what are the most important Microsoft Azure services that every developer should know if he or she is looking for the job change nowadays. Then I will tell you about here Azure DevOps, because nowadays when it is coming to create the release pipeline, when it is coming to the build pipeline, when it is coming to automate the release process, there we use DevOps. So I will tell you the way how the Azure board, how the Azure repo, and how the Azure pipeline will help you to manage your project in better way. So before starting the session, let me tell you more in detail about me. So my name is Shailen Chauhan. I'm having more than 12 years of experience. I am a Microsoft MVP, technical consultant. I'm the founder and CEO of .NET Rigs. I'm a speaker. I'm Microsoft certified trainer. I'm a corporate trainer. I'm Microsoft Azure certified in Azure developer, in DevOps engineer. I have written 14 ebooks on various interview question answer. I wrote more than 425 articles on various technologies. I train more than 15,000 students. Not a student, these are the professional across the world. I am the author of 120 plus video-based courses. I usually deliver the training program in top MNCs like IBM. I deliver the training program in TCS, Cognizant, and various others technology in various others MNCs over there. So this is my profile over here. So what I have done in this project, what are the experience I'm having to deliver the corporate training, to deliver the consulting to our customer. I decided to design a webinar where I can tell to the people, let's say how actually they're going to integrate the Microsoft Azure, how they're going to integrate the .NET for building their next application, and why the MNCs are looking for a full stack .NET developer, and what are the expectation the companies nowadays having. Because I constantly deliver the training in the corporate, so I deliver the training over there Microsoft Azure, I deliver the training over there on .NET 5 and .NET 6. So what are the expectation actually they having from the training? So those various things we are going to discuss in today's session. So let's first thing we having here deciding the technologies. How we can decide the technology for building our next project. So when it is coming to building a new project, so we first decide the backend. So as a backend, as I said, we are going to use here as a backend .NET, and we are not using the .NET framework 4.x. So here we are going to use .NET 6 because .NET 6 is the fastest version of .NET. So what are the version you know of the .NET? .NET 6 is the fastest version of the .NET. Even Microsoft is recommending to use .NET 6 if you're running your application in the cloud, like Microsoft Azure in AWS, so that you can save the running cost of the application in the cloud. So backend, we will use here ASP.NET Core, and .NET 6 we will use over there. When it is coming to the front end, so in the front end, you can go ahead with Angular, you can go ahead with React.js, or you can go ahead with ASP.NET MVC. So one of the front end framework you can use over there. Even you can mix both of them together as well, because sometimes the people combine the Angular with ASP.NET Core MVC. Sometimes the people combine the React.js with ASP.NET MVC. So that combination also can be used. So backend, you have to decide that is ASP.NET Core Web API. Front end, it would be Angular or React. But if you're not using the Angular and React, you can go ahead with the backend ASP.NET Core MVC, and for front end also you can use MVC over there. So you might be thinking why I'm adding multiple front end technologies over there, because here my intention is not only to cover the one aspect of the application. I'm willing to tell you that the similar application can be built with other combination as well. So in front end, you having the choice to use either Angular, either React, either ASP.NET Core MVC. Either you can use the combination of Angular or ASP.NET Core MVC, either combination of React or ASP.NET Core MVC. So that is also the possibility. So now the application is ready, because for building an application, we need front end and back end. Now it is coming to the deployment. So where you will deploy your application and how actually we can scale it when there is a spike in the traffic. Even you have seen, if you look at in the COVID, the Zoom users suddenly increased, and how the Zoom application they immediately scaled. So Zoom already running on cloud. So what the Zoom team did, they immediately scaled the resources. But think about if the similar application is running on their own data center, in a data center where they having the limited of physical server. So that time the Zoom application cannot be scaled. So Zoom application can be scaled only because of Zoom application running on the cloud. So similar way, nowadays what is happening, COVID-19 is still. So even the market, even the customer are going to buy online. So all the businesses are going to be digitization. So we can say the businesses are going to convert into a digital world where you can do everything online. So whether it's a shopping, whether it's a watching the movie, whether it's a purchasing the furniture, whether it's a doing anything. So many things now shifted to the online. So we need such infrastructure that can be scaled in future. So in that case, you need to have cloud as well. But before the cloud, you need to understand the patterns and practices. Because what we have done, we have decided a number of technologies, but as I said, we need to scale the application. We need to maintain the code. So if your code is not written in better way, you cannot scale it. So when it is coming to the patterns and practices, so we having the solid principle, we having the gang of 4 design patterns. And nowadays, when it is coming to the enterprise grade application, people are using the microservices. So microservices and the recommended design patterns you should know when it is coming to maintaining the application. Then we having here deployment. So for deployment, you need to know cloud. So in the cloud, we having the Microsoft Azure and we having the DevOps. So DevOps is coming the picture whenever you're going to automate your release pipeline, whenever you're going to automate your build pipeline. So these are the main component of every application nowadays. So now the thing is, when it is coming to building your application, so I hope you heard about the N-tier architecture. You might be using the 3-tier architecture. But if it is coming to managing your application in more cleaner way, so we having over there clean architecture, or you can say the onion architecture, because this diagram is looking like to a half cutting onion. When we cut the onion in between, so we will have such circle in the onion. So we say it's a onion architecture as well. So when it is coming to a layered view of the same application, so this is the way how the layered view you can design, where we having the entities. So if you're using the entity framework core, so we would have the tables which we are mapping to the object, or you can say data model in our application. Then for accessing the data, we having the repository where we have written the data access logic, where behind the scene you will use one of the database like SQL Server. And to write your business logic, we having the services over there, and the services we will access in the UI, in the web application over there. Okay, so what are the architecture I'm showing you? It's a simpler style. I have not added here many things over there. So my intention is here to explain how the clean architecture can be arranged in the layer form, and how we can actually uh, arrange the various components in our application. Because until you are not managing the various components in your application better way, so maintenance of the project would not be better over there. You have to put more effort over there. So that's why this is the way you need to arrange your application. Let me show you the example of the same application over there, where we have designed the things like this way. So this is my application, which is the e-Pizza Hub application. So as I promised to you, we are going to discuss about a Domino's like application architecture. So you can see this is my layer for entities, which I'm explaining as per this clean architecture. So this entities layer actually we created as per the database tables we have. So you can see we having here the user, where we are using the Spinat core identity. We having here item. So what are the item we having? We having the item type, and we having here order. The order information we're going to store. This is the order item we having over there. This is the cart here. This is the cart item we having over there. And here we are storing the delivery address detail over there. So these are the entities. Then on the top of entities, we having the repositories. So we having another layer where we have written the logic to access the database. But before that, we having here AppDB context. This is my AppDB context where I added all the entities in the entity layer. Then we added here interfaces where we have written the generic repository, where we added the commonly used methods. And here we having the implementation for this one. This is the implementation we having. So what are the common methods we having? Let's say insert, update, delete, retrieve. So these are the common process. So those common operation we just move to the generic repository over there. Then we having here the specific repository for shopping cart. We having the specific repository for order, where we can retrieve the data from the order related things I'm accessing over there. Here I'm accessing the cart related things over there simply. So these things we having a repository over there. Then we are doing here migration. This is the migration thing. This is the SQL script for seeding the data over there. So this is my repository. It's coming over there. Then we having the business logic, because in the repository we have written data access logic. So when it is coming the business logic, so we having the OAuth service. We have where we are written the code, how to validate the user ID and password, how to sign out, how to create a new user. Then we having a service here for cart. So what are the business logic you are going to implement for managing the shopping cart? We have written over there. Then we having catalog service. So this is my complete service. And in this UI, we are using everything. So this is the my UI where I'm using everything over there. Then we having here areas. So we creating a separate area for user for managing the user module. We are getting a separate area for managing the admin module over there. So these are separate area we having over there. So in the area and in this user, we actually using here dependency injection. So you can see all the services I'm injecting here, and these services I have registered at one place. So we having here in the services folder, there is a configuration folder. In the configuration, all the repository dependency we added here, all the service dependency we added over there. And this is my database dependency. And the database connection string I'm reading from this app settings.json. So here app that setting.json, this is my connection string. This is my payment gateway setting. This is my setting for Srilog for logging purpose, where I'm going to log the error into the text file, where I'm going to log that into the JSON file, where I'm going to log into the database. So these are the environment specific settings we have. And we having one more project for writing the unit test cases as well. So let me show you how this project is looking. I'm just running the application to show you how it's looking. So this project UI is looking like this way. It is exactly similar UI when we having as Domino's. If you're going to open here, Domino's website, you will have the similar UI over there also. This is my Domino's, where we having a section like this way, where we having the list of items. Let me show these are list of items over there we getting over there. Similar list of item we added over there. There also we having the option add to cart. Let me show you the way how to add to cart. We added, it is showing the notification over there. Then you can go to the cart over there. This is my cart. These are the items they show him in the cart. From here you can increase and decrease the quantity. This way I'm increasing the quantity over there. I can remove the item from here. This way I'm removing the item. From here I can do the checkout. Let me do checkout here. Before the checkout, I need to do login over there. So let me log in here @user@gmail.com. It is just my sample database, so I can use anything over there. But in real life, it would be your actual user. So again, it is showing me welcome user. And after logging, it is coming back to the same page from where I go ahead. Now let's do checkout over here. It is asking me to delivery address. Let's I'm putting here Noida sector. I'm putting here in sector over there. Locality, let's say it is sector 15, zip code 301, city, let's say Noida, phone number I'm putting over there. I'm just going to continue over there. It will go to the checkout. Now it is asking me for the payment. So here I can do the payment online. So let's say I mention here card. I don't have any save card. So here we can go ahead with, it is a Razorpay payment gateway. So they having the Razorpay test card. So using the test card, I can do the payment because it's in testing mode, but the same code will run on the live server as well. I need to just change the things over there. This is my card expiry date greater than today. CVV number I'm putting over there and pay now. So we are doing the payment. It has been success. After the success, it will show me the payment detail. My payment has been done successfully. Let me go to the order detail. It is showing me the order detail over there. This is the way. From here, I can see what are the order I placed over there. I can do sign out over there. For the user, I can do login from the admin over there to see the other things over there. So this way I can do login over there. So this is the application I created where we are using the .NET 6, where we have implemented all the things over there. So I hope you have been now understanding how the same application can be built with the help of .NET 6 and using the clean architecture. This is the go through I just shown to you to have the better understanding. Okay, so let me tell you about the other aspect when it is coming to building the application over there. So these are the things we discuss here now. Layers, database design. So this would be the database diagram, which I already explained over there. Now let's understand what are the most important design principles and patterns that everyone should know. Okay, so every developer, every solution architect, when you're going to decide any project architecture, so there are few things you should understand, you should know before architecting the project. So first thing, we having the solid principles. Everyone should have the proper understanding of the solid principles. So in the solid principles, we having the single responsibility principle, we having the open close principle, We having the scope substitution principle. We having the interface segregation principle. We having the dependency inversion principle. Because these principles are important whenever we are deciding the classes, whenever we are deciding the class architecture, even whenever you are going to architect anything, we always keep these things in the mind. Because whenever you are designing a class, every class should have only one responsibility. Whenever you have designed a class, it should open for extension and closed for the modification. You should always keep in the mind these things. Then we having over there architecture level pattern. So when it is coming to building the things, managing the component over there. So you need to know over there MVC architecture, need to over there MVVM pattern, need to know over there NTR architecture, need to know over there microservices also. So these are the commonly used architecture level patterns the people are using across the world. Even I'm sure what are the project you are building today, are planning to build tomorrow, one of the architecture level pattern you will use. Then we having a design patterns. So there is a difference between the design patterns and architecture level pattern. So architecture level pattern are on high level, or you can say these are we having at component level. When it is coming to design patterns, so design patterns are applicable to the code level. Design patterns are applicable to the low level over there. So these are the most important design pattern that everyone should know. So few of the design pattern I mentioned over there from the gang of four, where we having factory, singleton, builder, adapter, strategy pattern, facade pattern, bridge, and state. So these are the most commonly used design patterns you should know whenever you are working on any project. Even whenever you will go for any interview, so they usually ask such question like what are the various design patterns you are using in your current project, what are the architecture level pattern you are using, and how you are using the solid over there. So these are the important the set of things are going to be discussed in your manager round in your final interview. I'm sure so many people faced the similar question over there. Am I right? So this is about the design principle and patterns should know. Okay, now the next important thing we having about security. How the security we can implement. So in ASP.NET Core, we can use ASP.NET Core Identity, which is providing us various manager to implement the security. So we having the user manager, we having the role manager, we having the sign-in manager. So with the help of ASP.NET Core Identity, security can be implemented. Even you can write your own way as well to implement it simply over there. Then we having the best practices. So obviously, whenever you are building the application, you should always implement various best practices, which actually really help us to improve the application performance, which really help us to avoid the various loopholes. So here we having the environment based settings. So whenever we are building the application, we are going to deploy the application different environment. Let's say we having the development environment, we having the testing environment, we having the production environment. So you need to add the environment specific setting. Then we having here, you should handle the errors globally. You should do the error logging properly. If let's say you are willing to trace any workflow, so how it can be traced. So with the help of error logging can be done. And you should enforce to use SSL over there. So instead of using the HTTP, we should use SSL over there. Then we need to secure our cookies so that if somebody is going to tamper the cookies, so that cookie would be useless. So here we having the things over there. We having the bundle.io.js and the CSS file. So instead of making the n number of requests for loading the JavaScript file, for loading the CSS file, we should bundle them so that we can reduce the number of requests on the server and our web page will render fastly into the browser. So this bundling will help us to optimize the number of requests and to improve the page performance. Use the CDN wherever are possible to serve the content. Use cache to cache the common content. So what are the content is common to the multiple user, you should use cache over there. Even if you know about the .netx.com, there we having the various articles, there we having the various courses. So those courses and articles are common to the people. So what we have done, we have implemented over there cache. So from the cache, the complete content is coming. Similar way, we having the Stack Overflow. In the Stack Overflow, whatever the question are searching over there, those question are coming from the cache over there. So response comparison, HTML unification. So these best practices, everyone should implement their own application. Even every company expected such things over there, simply. Then we having here Microsoft Azure services. So when it is coming to the Microsoft Azure is loved by the .NET developer. Even when it is coming to building the .NET based application and deploying to the cloud, Microsoft Azure is the first choice over there. So as a .NET developer, you should, I would say you must learn Microsoft Azure for deploying your .NET application into the cloud. Even Microsoft Azure having so many services, they having the immediate support for the upcoming version of .NET as compared to the other clouds over there. So do you want to know what are the top 10 Microsoft Azure services that every developer must know? Do you want to know the name of those top 10 services? Okay. So from my experience, what I feel in every project, so the developers implement these top 10 Microsoft Azure services. Even whenever you will go for any Microsoft Azure interview. So these top 10 Azure services are going to be asked in every Microsoft Azure interview. If you have not prepared these services, you must prepare these services. Yeah, obviously all these services are the part of AZ204 certification exam that is dedicated to Microsoft Azure Developer Associate over there. Okay, so first Microsoft service is here virtual machine. So when it is coming to deployment, so as a deployment, we use a virtual machine mainly. So you need to know how to create and configure the virtual machine and how we can deploy the code over there. The second important service we have being here Azure storage. When it is coming to storing the unstructured data, like you having the PDF, you having, let's say, Word file, you having, let's say, images, we should always store there as a Azure storage. The third important service we having here, Azure SQL database. So what are the SQL server you having in your on-prem environment? When it is coming to the cloud, it is Azure SQL database. This is the third important service. So Azure storage is for unstructured data and Azure SQL database is for structured data. Then we having here web app. So in place of virtual machine, you can also use web app for deploying your application. So web app is a PaaS-based service, platform as a service. VM is a ER service, or you can say infrastructure as a service. So wherever you will go for hosting the application, you have to decide either virtual machine, you have to decide either web app. Even in some places, you might be using both of them also. Then we having here fifth important service, that is function app. So when it is coming to run the background task, like you might having a task for sending the email on regular interval, you might having a task for taking the regular database backup. So there we prefer the function app, or whatever the task you might be doing today with the help of Windows service, with the help of any other scheduler, there we use function app. So these are function app we use over there. Then we having the sixth important Azure service, Cosmos DB. So Cosmos DB is a NoSQL database. So when it is coming to storing the real-time data, if you have seen, we having the Uber, Ola, even Domino's, where you are willing to track your order, where it is, where your cab driver is right now. So such real-time data we can fetch immediately with low latency. So there Azure Cosmos DB will help you. Then we having here Azure Service Bus. So when it is coming to the message-based communication, between the various component in an application. There we use Azure Service Bus. So even if you're taking the example of Amazon.com, let's say Flipkart, so what are the order you are placing over there? That order they never confirm immediately. Behind the scene, we having the multiple microservices over there, and those are communicating to each other through the Azure Service Bus. So their Azure Service Bus comes into the picture. Then we having here Azure Active Directory. So when it is coming to managing a one organization, multiple application, and you are willing to implement the single sign-on functionality, means using one credential, you can access all the application of the same organization. Even the same thing you experience in the Google, in Microsoft Azure. In Google, we having Gmail, we having the Google Cloud, we having the Google Ad, we having the Google AdSense. So all the product you can access using one email ID. Similar way, the Microsoft Outlook is there, Microsoft OneDrive is there, Microsoft Azure is there. So using one credential, you can access all the Microsoft Azure product. If the similar thing you have to implement in your project, you can use Azure Active Directory over there. Then we having here Azure Key Vault. So when it is coming to storing the credential, when it is coming to storing the SSL certificate, so we need a vault. So Azure Key Vault is a place where we should keep our credential, where we should keep our database connection string. Then the 10th important service, we having the Azure Application Insight. So when it is coming to tracing your application, when it is coming to which request is taking how much time, how many requests are coming in this to render this page. So we having the application insight. So application insight will provide a deep insight at the code level, the deep insight at the request level. So these are the 10 most important Microsoft Azure services that every developer should know. Even I'm sure these maximum 10 services you will use in your project, whatever you're building. So is it clear to everyone? So now we have done application element. We have decided the architecture as well. We have implemented the design patterns. We have implemented the design principle as well. Even we have integrated the Microsoft Azure services as well into the project. Now the question is how we can automate the release lifecycle, how we can actually do the sprint planning, how actually we can immediately deploy the application code without showing a message on website. Our website will down from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. So in this time period, nobody can access the website. Have you seen such message on a website where we having a predefined indicator over there? But if you're looking at the Facebook, but if you're looking at the Twitter, the Netflix, do you find such indicator? I'm sure they don't have such indicator. So how actually they are constantly adding the value, how they are constantly providing the releases into the product. So that is happening because of following the DevOps practices. So next section is also important when it is coming to provide the frequent releases of the software without any downtime. So that is DevOps. Because so many people might having the question where actually DevOps is helping us. So DevOps having a life cycle. So when it is coming to building any application, it start from the planning, then we having the development, we having the testing, we having the integration. So then we having the release deployment, that is the CI/CD over there. So that automatically what are the code the developer is checking, it go to the development environment, then it go to the testing environment, then go to the production environment this way. Then we can monitor it, how it is behaving in the production server, how it is behaving on the testing server. So this is a complete planning we can do with the help of DevOps. So DevOps objective is to provide the continuous value to the customer without thinking much, without doing any manual error over there. So how the DevOps works? So DevOps works in this way. I'm sure if you're working on a enterprise grade application where you are using the Microsoft Azure, we are using any other cloud, I'm damn sure you are using the CI/CD pipeline over there. I'm damn sure you having a sprint planning tool. You might having Jira, you might having the Kanban board over there, where the tasks are going to assign to you, and you are just posting your status over there. Let's say this much the estimate time to complete this task. Now I have completed this task. Then we having a sprint end date. We having the sprint start date. And as per the sprint planning, we do everything over there. We do the checking over there. So as a developer, we always use source control. We using Git, we using the DFS, let's say any other. Then we having here continuous integration over there. Then we having a release management, where the code is going to have on dev environment, QA environment, staging environment, and finally it go to the production environment. So this is the how the DevOps is working. And I'm sure as a developer, we follow the same practice. We commit the changes, then we having the continuous integration that build the code, let us know whether the code is building fine or not. Then further we provide the releases over there simply. So when it is coming to the Azure DevOps, so these are the various offering we having over there. So we having here Azure board for the sprint planning. We having the Azure repo for source code management. We having the Azure pipeline for creating the release pipeline and build pipeline. We having the Azure test plan for looking at what are the various test cases are passing, what are the various test cases are failing. And we having Azure artifacts if you're willing to create your own NuGet package, which you are willing to use into the multiple project. So those are coming the Azure artifacts. Okay. So now I hope that things are now clear how the four things are connected together, because I have shown backend first, front end first, then design patterns or practices, and then we having the Azure and DevOps.